name is Molly Clark Hudson, and this is my multimedia presentation. So the first event that I attended was the Blackout, and automatically I was noticeably an outsider since this was an event taking place during Black History Month. I was uncomfortable due to some of the race content that they talked about, either in the spoken word or poetry. How I responded to after a performer was just politely clapping. Other people in the audience might have said preach, yes, amen, or shouted in the middle of them, but that was a little uncomfortable for me, so I just responded by clapping. And I also want to talk about the teaching implications that I will specifically take away from this event. Do not celebrate the works of African Americans just during the month of February. Make sure it is a continuum conversation throughout the year because you never want the child to feel that they are left out or less than. So on this slide, you'll just see these are pictures from the Blackout. There's a selfie of me in the middle. There are some spoken word and poets such as Damon Hill and Kyla Janine Lacey, and there's the Afro's Praise Dance Team and the African American Gospel Choir to the right. Unfortunately, that was the only event that I was able to go to in person, so the next 3 slides that you see will be webinars. So the first webinar that I chose to explore was the LGBTQ best practices, and through this webinar, specifically the teaching implications that I took away is do not put off discussing pronoun usage in your class. It may be an awkward conversation that you feel is not necessary, however it benefits all students, and having this discussion makes your classroom feel safe, and maybe students who are questioning their sexuality, this conversation may give them some answers. So the second webinar that I chose to explore was best practices for serving English language learners and their family. So through this webinar specifically, the teaching implications that I took away and that I will choose to use in my future classroom as an educator. Do not make assumptions when it comes to planning instructions. It is so important to make instruction that mirrors not only the student's physical appearance, but also mirrors their learning style. Making sure that you know some of the student's first language and that you honor it, as well as use it in the classroom, is very, very important. Also, make sure that you're learning their cultural norms is important. This will create a good foundation when it comes to working with families and the student as well. So the last webinar that I chose to watch was Speak Up at School, and specifically the teaching implications that I took away from this was do not let bias, prejudice, and stereotypical remarks slide in your classroom or even when you hear colleagues use these remarks. Make sure to use the speak up strategies that includes interpret, question, educate, and echo. Another way to implement this in the classroom would be to create a word wall of approved words students can use, as well as a list of words that should not be used. And they can also sign a contract when ready, so saying that they will abide by this and speak up for students if they hear bias or prejudice remarks, and they will not use such words in the classroom or to other students, which I thought was a great thing to implement in the classroom. So on these next 2 slides, these are just my certifications for the webinars. On the left, you'll see the LGBTQ practice, and on the right, the ELL and their family best practice, and continue of the Speak Up at School certificate. So on the last slide, these are some great resources. So when I do get out into the field, I can look back on this presentation, and if I need help or figuring out what practices I want to implement in my class, I can do so. But I hope you enjoyed. I hope you find these resources as helpful as I did, and I hope you have a great day.